Do you have common sense? Do you have a problem with people that don't? Does lacking common sense mean someone is not intelligent? Is common sense always good sense? Let's get into it. The definition of common sense is sound and prudent judgment based on a simple perception of the situation or facts. The key word in this definition is the word simple, though. Life, situations, predicaments are not often simple at all. Common sense comes from common experiences, common upbringing, and common environment. In the United States, all of these things vary from state to state, city to city, from town to town, even through different parts of town, as economics, ethnicity, religion, and community differ widely. Common sense actually has to be learned. Children will try wildly dangerous things without supervision, such as touching a pot of boiling liquid, running out into the street, and sticking things into electric sockets. Because it is different from community to community, what a child learns as common sense often differs. Moving to a new city, any person can seem to lack common sense as they have not learned what is locally common. In learning common sense, it is generally, especially as a child, only enforceable by a negative experience. You touch a boiling pot, you get burned, you remember, and that becomes part of your makeup. Someone telling you doesn't have the same effect. You run across the street without looking and almost get hit by a car, you remember, it becomes part of you. If you haven't seen or been taught or lived such a negative experience, you don't absorb it and it doesn't become part of you. So common sense, or making common sense part of you, is a process. Here's another thing. Common sense is not common law. There is no book of codified laws of common sense. And there's a reason for this. There's a couple of reasons for this. One is you're allowed to think and believe whatever you want. You don't have to believe or think like anyone else. And two, there is no universal agreement on what common sense is. This is why we have these arguments in the courts, especially the argument of popular opinion, because what seems to be common sense for all these individuals doesn't seem to show up the same. So is it common? There are laws that would appear to echo common sense. The reasons for those laws is because common sense is not getting the job done. And we need laws to keep us safe and working well together. So if there needs to be a law, it's probably because people either don't have or don't believe in this common sense for this issue, or maybe again, it's not common sense at all. We just think it ought to be. On the conversation of judgment, the definition of the word judgment is the process of forming an opinion or evaluation by discerning or comparing. Now, as human beings live in the social life, we can't help but judge others, especially by what we feel is common sense. Making someone wrong for not having what you feel is common sense is a little inappropriate. Remember that what you feel is common sense is not written down anywhere or enforceable. Common sense is not a measure of intelligence. It's a measure of whether or not you've been taught and lived by what is appropriate to your environment. And even then, it depends on who's asking. It is reasonable to want people around you to think like you, especially in terms of close friends or a mate. It just isn't as likely as we would like. That's why we have very few close friends. Most people weren't born or lived through the same version of life as us. They can learn, but they might not agree or even want to see the world the same way we do. The opportunity here is to value, share, and update your version of common sense with others so that this new compilation of common sense becomes common to you all. Making someone wrong, bad, or stupid for not thinking like you might be making you wrong, bad, or stupid. What are the rules of common sense anyway? Can you make a list of everything that should be common sense? If you can, that might be a best-selling book. You should look into that. It doesn't serve anyone well to be the police or arbiter of common sense. It may serve your ego, but little else. It divides us, and we already have enough division. Consider instead working to find a way or build a way for us to coexist and thrive, even with our wildly different beliefs, values, and ideas. That would be a worthwhile endeavor. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comment box below. If you feel this conversation might be helpful to someone else, please share it with them. As always, your time and your energy is appreciated, and we'll see you next time.